get ready to relax. Because you're entering IFFI Audiobooks, we're about to take you on a peaceful journey through stories that soothe the soul and inspire the mind. Whether you're winding down after a long day or just want to escape, these audiobooks will take you to a world of calm. So sit back, relax, and let your imagination fly, and let's begin. A criminal is very creative. Now see how much planning he does before committing a crime. He prepares a good plot and then commits his crime, and it is not easy to save himself from getting caught. Detective Jaunty said. In the police jeep, Inspector Oliver sitting next to him said that today he is right, sir, it is right. After that, our work starts, and if it becomes difficult for him, then it is fun to cancel it. There were many other policemen also in the victory. They had gone out to investigate an alleged murder of a 16 to 17-year-old girl in the city's Nova colony. Within a short time, they went and stood outside a house. Some neighbors were also standing nearby. Seeing the policeman, they went to the side. When the policeman first secured the crime scene by cordoning it off with a yellow strip, Detective Jaunty and Inspector Oliver went inside and saw that a blood-soaked body of a 16-year-old girl was lying inside the house, a little away from the main door. The girl's name was Natalia, and her mother, Amila, was sitting unconscious on the sofa nearby, which was being held by a woman from the neighborhood, and the father was crying loudly after seeing his daughter's dead body. Detective Jaunty looked around and saw Inspector Oliver looked at the thing very closely. Inspector Oliver was busy in reading the evidence. Detective Jaunty went to the girl's father and said, "Sorry, George, sir, but this is my job. I have to ask some questions about your daughter." Mr. Mother said, while crying, "I can increase my curiosity. You can ask whatever you want, but I have found out the secret through which my innocent daughter was killed." Inspector Oliver said, "Mr. George, control yourself and tell me what happened." Mr. George told that yesterday. At night, our daughter had gone out for the night with her friends. I myself had visited her friend Lily's house at 8 p.m. We called her a little earlier at 10:30 p.m. We talked, but she was not able to talk. I woke up in the morning, hearing my wife screaming. I went to the drawing room with a broken heart and saw my daughter lying on the ground soaked in blood with a deep wound in her neck and a knife nearby. When Jaunty had fallen down, he asked, "Had you touched anything?" George said, "No, didn't even inform the police." Hearing our screams, the neighbors came and they themselves confirmed the police protest. Asked, "Do you have any other children, mister?" "Don't forget, Natalia is our only one." Jaunty again asked, "How did your daughter enter the house? And I mean, you guys were already asleep then. When Natalia came back, then who opened the door?" Natalia had extra keys in the house, and with the help of that, she opened the door. Jaunty then asked, "When you heard the scream and you came running, was the main door opened or closed?" Mr. George said, "The door was locked from inside and neither was any window open. When the neighbors came, I opened the door with my hands." Jaunty then asked, "When you heard the scream and you came running, was the main door opened or closed?" Mr. George said, "The door was locked from inside and neither was any window open. When the neighbors came, I opened the door with my hands." Then Detective Jaunty asked a question which is often asked by anyone outside. "George, are you worried about anyone?" "No, sir. Natalia never told us anything which would show that she is upset." Detective Jaunty said, "This is the problem. This is the problem of today's children, but the parents do not know anything. And can you give the address of his friend Lily?" George said, "Yes, when I take you." Oliver had collected the register, blood samples, fingerprints, and other evidence. When they were about to leave for Lily's house, the detective noticed something. There was something under the sofa. Jaunty bent down and looked and found it to be an earworm, who placed it in a small container and showed it to Mr. Hain. George asked whether these are Natalia's earrings or your wife's. Mr. George said, "It is not from either of them." "Sir," Jaunty said, "let's go to Lily's house." After reaching Lily's house, Detective Jaunty said to Lily, "Look, Lily, whatever. Let us ask you, give the correct answer to that question. Tell us what happened yesterday." But Sir Lily looked at Mr. George with a questioning look and said, "Uncle, who are you guys? What is the matter?" Jaunty said while showing his ID, "My name is Jaunty and I am detective." Someone has murdered her friend Natalia, as if someone has snatched the ground under Lily's feet. Lily asked, crying, "How can this happen? We had met only last night." Detective Jaunty took out an earring from his pocket and looked at Lily, and asks Lily, "First of all, tell me whose earring is this?" Lily said, "Sir, I don't know whose it is." Jaunty then said, "Okay, then tell me what happened last night, whether Natalia had a fight with someone." Lily said, "No, sir. There was no fight last night when Natalia's father did this job to Natalia. There was a party going on here. This was Natalia's boyfriend Jack, and they both were hanging out together." Jaunty said, "What happened after that?" Mr. George interrupted with surprise and said, "Boyfriend, but he did not tell us anything." Jaunty calmed Mr. George and said, "George, sir, it is of no use now." Then Jaunty asked Lily. After that, Lily told, "Sir, after some time, both went to the terrace. When I went in, it was around 10 in the night. After that, I did not see both of them." Sir Jaunty said, "Okay, Lily, can you give me the address of Jack?" Lily said, "Yes, sir. 9th Street, Blue World Society." Inspector Oliver went to lab directly across from Lily's house. He had to get the Jack bull tested. The detective was there and asked Mr. George to go to his house because his wife was alone at home, and Jaunty went alone to Jack's house. He knocked at the door and said, "Hello, good evening. My name is Jaunty and I am detective." Jack said, "Okay. But how can I help you?" Jaunty said, "Where were you last night?" Jack said, "I was sharing with my friends." "Why? What happened?" Jaunty looked into Jack's eyes and said, "Natalia's blood has become you." In the morning, he found a dead bean at his house, which was Lily's reaction. He also said while crying, "But sir, it was last night, so we both met." "How can this happen?" Jaunty said. "Last night, when you had gone for terrace, after that psalm, what had happened to Jack?" Jack said, "Nothing, sir. I had gifted her car earrings." Detective Jaunty, interrupting Jack and taking him out of the game, said to him, "I am sorry for interrupting, but is this the Jack one that you told Natalia?" Jack cried and said, "Yes, sir, she was right here." Jaunty said, "Okay, now tell me what happened after that." Jack said nothing. After that, he was feeling something strange, so I dropped her at his house, Jaunty said at that time. "It was time." Jack said, "Sir, it was 1 o'clock in the night. I was more worried because at that time I had called my mom and told her that I was coming home." While questioning her, Jaunty's eyes roamed around the team room. Jaunty said, "Okay, Jack, thank you very much." Just as I turned to go out of the house, I said coaxing, "And sir, I want to tell you something else." Jaunty said, "Tell me." There was a salary problem, which was troubling Natalia a lot. Natalia and her friends. There was some discord going on between her legs, when perhaps because of her exam, or because of the subject she was going to take next, her parents were pressuring her to take a breath, sir, when Natalia wanted to come and remained silent for a few moments. While reminding the time, the detective said that Jack then left the place, and the detective interrogated Disha's neighbor and her friends. During the interrogation, he came to know from the neighbors that there used to be sounds of fighting from Disha's house often, and the friends had Paris told that Natalia often used to talk about quarrels with her parents. After some time, Inspector Oliver brought all the reports from lab. The fingerprint report revealed that the knife with which Natalia's throat was slit was that of Natalia, her mother, and her father. The post-mortem report revealed that on the night of the murder, Natalia was very drunk, and the bleeding took place between 1:30 and 2 a.m. Apart from Natalia's neck, there was no injury or scratch anywhere else, nor was there any scuffle marks, and because the doors and windows were locked from inside, no evidence of forceful entry into the house was found. Inspector Oliver said that all the evidence is against Natalia's parents. Detective Jaunty said that it is possible that they themselves have murdered Natalia. "Now you are in your delegation. I want to search Natalia's house once again. I want to make sure that the murderer is the family member. It is some outsider who was present inside the house after the murder. Jaunty, go to Natalia's house and investigate thoroughly." He calls the inspector and says to bring all the suspects to Natalia's house immediately. After some time, Inspector Oliver, Natalia's boyfriend Jack, reaches Natalia's house with her friend Lily. Jack angrily says to Detective Indoor, "Why have you called us here?" Lily also says, "Please tell me, what are we doing here?" Jaunty says, "I just want to know the truth. What happened that night? It is less than how many times you will ask the Jack a question, and we will give the Jack a answer. Sir, there is no opposition. Send this time. I want to know the truth. Jack speaks the truth. What is the truth that we knew? We have told. Jaunty speaks. Okay, then let me tell you what happened that night. Jack had told the truth that you had definitely stayed at his house. It was top at 1 o'clock and you called your mom and told her that you were coming home. But you did not go home. Instead, you followed Natalia. Jack interrupted and said, "But why would I do that?" Jaunty said, "Don't interrupt. First, listen to me completely. You followed Natalia and entered her house. I saw Natalia, but she did not scream because she was very drunk. Then you went to the kitchen and brought a knife, holding it with your handkerchief. Then you saw Natalia." Jaunty laughed. He said, "How do you know that the doors were locked from inside?" "Only we know this. I will tell you how you know, because this planning was in your mind, that after committing murder, you settle down and all the blame falls on Natalia's mom and dad, because you thought that Natalia always had fights with her parents." Inspector Oliver: "Well, Detective Sir, what are you trying to say? Even I did not understand that the door was locked from inside and the dead body was also lying inside." Everyone's eyes were asking the Jack question to Agent Jaunty. Detective Jaunty said that today when I searched this house again, I also went to the basement and checked thoroughly there. There is no door to escape from. There is a chimney can be taken out through the road. It will be difficult for you and me to get out of it. But for a slim guy like Jack, it is not a difficult task. Now everyone is watching. It was towards the evening. Jack said, "Why are you all looking at me like this? I did not kill Natalia." "What proof do you have that?" Jaunty said. "The proof is your shoes which you wore last night and in a hurry you went, but chimney ink is on your shoes. You'll forget to clean it." "Shoes? And if you want more proof than this, then you tell me where is your silver bracelet that you wore last night at the party?" "Bracelet is lost, detective." "Not lost, but left. Last night, while climbing up the chimney, your bracelet broke from your wrist and fell in the fireplace, and it is with me now." I handed it over to Inspector Oliver and said, "Jack, all the evidence is against you. Do you think you can get away with murder?" Now he had accepted defeat. He started crying and said that it was I who had killed Natalia because I loved her. But she wanted to break the relationship with me. She used to fight with Smooth and used to talk to her new boyfriend jokingly. I could not see everything, and I conspired to put Joseph. I thought that all the blame would come on Natalia's parents, and I would be saved. Hearing Jack's words, Natalia's mom and dad started crying bitterly. Lily was also in shock that she had told her two best friends. Lost friends, arrested in the evening and taken to police station. Inspector Oliver and Active asked these people, "Friend, how did you do?" Jaunty said, "I knew then. You will definitely ask this question. Actually, I checked Natalia's Facebook ID and saw some photos from the party last night. Support Natalia was decided after doing this. I looked at all the photos carefully. Natalia looked happy in those photos, but Jack was not happy. When I went to her house to inquire about 7, my eyes fell on her shoes kept near her bed. I was covered in soot, and then I thought that Disha's house should be searched once again. When I searched, I found out that there was a chimney coming out of the basement. Jack had just murdered and ran away from the Jack chimney." Inspector Oliver praised Detective Jaunty. "He was not tired of doing it," he said. He agreed. "Details. Your mind, you amaze me every time. I enjoyed working with you. Now we will meet again in the next case. Let's meet again, friends." Thank you for listening to IFFI Audiobooks. We hope you enjoyed the story and that it sparked your imagination. If you'd like to hear more exciting adventures, mysteries, and timeless classics, don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon. Stay tuned. Until then, happy listening, and we'll see you in the next story.